We're going to have to get used to some more changes in the way we live our lives over the next 6 months or so. There will be further intrusions, there will be further restrictions on people's movement and their behaviour. But the point is, you do it in a timely way, you do it in a managed way, you do it in a careful way. Just because something is not necessary today doesn't mean it won't be necessary in 3 weeks from now or 3 months from now. Just as something we're announcing today wasn't necessary 2 months ago. Today, as the rate of community transmission starts to pick up, then new measures are put in place. And what you simply do, as I'm explaining, as you put these new measures in, as you see these curves unfolding, then you can flatten the curve as you move forward. Some places, schools, workplaces, others will make various decisions along the way, and they can work off the best advice that they have available. Australians are smart people. They're common sense people. Occasionally, in recent weeks and months, we've seen some examples not of that behaviour, and that's regrettable. But for the vast majority of Australians, they're common sense people, and we have to rely on their judgment as well. The government can't manage every hour of your life and tell you what to do every hour of the day, but we can ask you to listen to the information and make your best judgments as you care for yourself and your family and those around you. We're relying on that Australian spirit of looking after each other as we get through the difficult months that are ahead. Today, I now then want to move to the decisions that we've taken consistent with the plan that I've outlined to you. First of all, the National Security Committee met before the National Cabinet today, and we resolved to do the following things. To help stay ahead of this curve, we will impose a universal precautionary self-isolation requirement on all international arrivals to Australia, and that is effective from midnight tonight. Further, the Australian Government will also ban cruise ships from foreign ports from arriving at Australian ports for an initial 30 days, and that will go forward on a rolling basis. The National Cabinet also endorsed the advice of the AHPPC today to further introduce social distancing measures. Before I move to those, I just want to be clear about the travel restrictions that I've just announced. All people coming to Australia will be required, I stress, to self-isolate for 14 days. This is very important. What we've seen in recent weeks is more countries having issues with the virus, and that means that the source of some of those transmissions are coming from more and more countries. Our bans have been very effective to date, and what this measure will do is ensure that particularly Australians, who are the majority of people coming to Australia now on these flights, when they come back to Australia, their self-isolation for 14 days will do an effective job in flattening this curve as we go forward. Similarly, the arrangements for cruise ships will have the same effect. In specific cases where we have Australians on cruise ships, then there will be some bespoke arrangements that we put in place directly under the command of the Australian Border Force to ensure that the relevant protections are put in place. We're seeking to assist Australians come home by ensuring that the flights continue to run, but when they come home, they'll be spending another 14 days in self-isolation. And so I've covered also the issue of the cruises. When it comes to social distancing, I want to read to you the key sections of the advice that were provided today to the National Cabinet. The AHPPC believes that social distancing measures are now required and will need to be introduced progressively to reduce disruption. This has the most benefit in delaying transmission. The AHPPC advises, as we flagged last Friday, that in general, non-essential gatherings of more than 500 people should not occur. They also advise that at this early stage, not to prevent the operation of essential functions, including schools, universities and workplaces, or prevent the operation of public transport. However, the principle of social distancing should still apply in these settings. What the AHPPC advises is for static, non-essential gatherings of persons that they should not go ahead if there are more than 500 people who would be in such a gathering. Now, what do I mean by that? A static gathering is when you're sitting, as you are here in this room, for prolonged periods. that would occur at a stadium, it would occur in a theatre, it would occur in events such as those, where people are together in close proximity for a sustained period of time. The advice is that those gatherings should not continue at that scale.